What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today I wanted to talk about the Division 2 and a trend that you always see in this game, and it's a trend that's actually not good for the game. I don't know, maybe somehow the development and even the leadership in this game are convinced that this is probably a good thing, but I don't think it is, and that is the ability to nerf everything that is fun, everything that gives you, or most things that give you an advantage, and pretty much make them asinine so that you sit here and you continue to grind. Now, here's the thing. For most players in this community, we've always said that the grind is one of the appealing aspects of the division. So yeah, maybe everybody wants you to kind of earn your ranks, earn every single, merit that you get. But the division is already around 4 years almost into its cycle. So that kind of doesn't really make any sense, because at this point in time, we should be either talking about a whole different game or at least an overhaul of what this franchise should be. Yes, there's Heartland, but I think Heartland serves a purpose, and that purpose we're going to talk about it maybe in other videos. So what is this thing that I'm talking about? I'm talking about floor 10 and other aspects of this game that have provided players a little bit of an advantage, maybe getting XP, getting loot, killing hunters early and leaving the game, all of those things that the developers seem to continue to prioritize and nerf when there are other more pressing things that are, in a sense, game breaking that they usually do not prioritize. To me, I think there is nothing wrong with floor 10. You don't necessarily need to understand that that floor 10 is going to bore you, and it's going to be hard for you to continue to do it all the time unless you're just of that kind of a, personality where your mental fortitude is almost unshakable. And there are people like that. But loot caves and loot farms or XP farms in video games are actually quite fun. They provide your community with a sense of feeling like, yeah, they're powerful, or they've actually outdone you, the developer, to find something in the game that they can actually use to get stronger. It creates an exciting psyche that I think developers ought to exploit, like some developers actually do. Now, yes, not every time it's not every time you see developers actually put themselves in a situation where they intend to make a loot cave. I don't think anyone designs that in a game. And if anyone designs that in their game, then you must be really smart. But sometimes players will discover things that as developers, you don't intend for them to actually discover or use in that manner. What do you do and how do you approach it? Ubisoft Massive, I have to say, is not the studio to take an example from on how to actually address these things. Why? Because they are anti-fun. It's the truth. Massive, you guys don't like us to have any fun at all in this game. And I'm going to be very honest. The devs here, you see something that the community is having a blast with, enjoying, and all you dream about every day when you're having beers at 4 o'clock or when you're even sleeping is how you're going to nerf it. This does not help your brand. Let's look at Eldon Ring. Eldon Ring being made by a developer that came up from the ranks, that did not seem to have a huge market share or any kind of attention like Ubisoft used to have, is one developer. We had a spot, or we still do have a spot in Eldon Ring till date, in the Mogwin Palace, where you can go and farm the bird. Now, this was discovered by players, and trust me, I think with my tinfoil hat that the developers over at From Software probably built that into the game for players to discover, because by and large, they hardly even nerf the darn thing. But if they built it, even better for them. And if players discovered it, even better for the players, because now players can find a way for them to be able to get stronger within the game. Go ahead and, enjoy the aspects of the game, feeling like they achieved it by spending a little bit of time, using a little bit of, in quotes, some kind of an exploit that the game does not prohibit in any way. They're not doing anything special. They're just using game mechanics that just happen to be organized in a way that give them an advantage, and the developers don't seem to disturb or perturb them. That is how I think game development should be in a game that has a majority PvE aspect of its own mechanics or its own framework. And the truth is that the Division has a PvE side as its major mechanic and its major framework. All of this talk about PvP and all that stuff, I saw somebody today on one of my comment section telling me, oh, maybe the best thing for people to do is for these crybaby PvE players to grow a pair and go into the DZ and grow some balls. And I laughed and I said, do we have Division players that work in oil rigs We have some that are in the military, some that are truckers, actual things in life that require you to be brave and require you to actually be someone that's gutsy. And somebody thinks that Tom Clancy Division Dark Zone PvP requires you to grow a pair? Come on. Devs, those people who want to pretend shoot other people and think it makes you tough. It's a video game. We really got to relax with this mindset and understand that just has to be fun in some aspects of a game. Another thing, too, that people may argue about is maybe the potential, as I saw Kamikaze Von Doom argue in the comments today on Twitter. He said, one thing that these loot farms have done is they've provided people the possibility of being able to make their way onto other platforms to play. Now, that is a very select number of Division agents, the ones that play cross-platform. We don't necessarily always look like we have all of the different goods to show for it, but trust me, our progress has spread very thin. I have 4 Division accounts, Xbox, PlayStation, and 2 on PC, and all of them are level 40 agents. Let me take that back. I don't know if my Xbox account's a level 40 agent. I know it's over level 30, but all the others are level 40. And I have 2 that are shade level 800. So when I go into missions, people are always like, you're not even at shade level 100. If you've been grinding on all of them, it's kind of hard to get to shade level 1000, on anyone. So I'm sticking at 800 on 2 of them, 200 on 1 of them. But I have, the skill, I have the knowledge of the game, well, at the time that I was really playing, to show for it, things that I've learned. But that's a whole different select kind of player. That's a player like me, easily bored, wanting to figure out things on other platforms, see the game from a different perspective, and things like that really do help out. Now, yes, I did the floor 10, I think it was 1 time, but it didn't even really appeal to me. It was kind of boring. I love my open world farming that I always do. You guys know how I roll. I take my cam launcher and I run around the open world and I just burn all these NPCs and get my XP. That to me has always been fascinating. But to go back and for the developers to actually put this in a place where they want to nerf it, it doesn't make any sense to me. Now, here's the only way where I see that they can probably try to justify it. They can say, oh, maybe people can get, progress or progression that they can go use in PvP. Then it makes it tilted and unbalanced and unfair. This is where the problem of having a framework like the Division is, where you have to shoehorn a PvP experience in a way that it overlaps with the PvE, which is your major aspect of the game. So in order for you to be able to try to appease or appeal to a small aspect of your game, and yes, all you PvP players, say what you want, it's a very small aspect of the game. And I know my content creator friends, they'll all tell you they disagree with, most of them disagree with me. Even some of my core clan members disagree with me. They'll tell you this exact thing. This is my position. PvP in the Division is a very small sect of the game. You can disagree, but I have the receipts to actually show it. So, in order for you not to sacrifice the majority of your game for a select aspect and a select audience, you ought to be able to at least let some things slide. If everybody could progress, it would be very difficult for you to find cheaters, because most of the time, many people will just feel like they can actually get the progress that they need wherever it is that they're actually going to go ahead and find that progress. But then when you start to make this game super grindy, you encourage people who are already going to cheat nonetheless. I'm not saying that it's the devs' fault that they're cheaters. People who are cheating are, they're, in my own opinion, they should be banned anyways, when they get caught, and they should be exposed. But that's also another thing out there. So I think this game shoots itself in the foot every single time when it tries to do that. Rather than separate the modes, it kind of shoehorns them together and finds itself where it punishes, its majority player base anyways, just because of something there. Now, it could be that the developers are not necessarily trying to nerf this because of PvP alone, but they just don't want people to progress. What would be the sense in it? It was unintended. So what? It's a game. You unintended it, but it's a thing that makes people just feel like they have fun and they one up the devs. And I think the developers are probably not doing themselves any favors if they continue with this mindset. But I think what's going to resolve all this is when they make their next Division game, which I think they're going to make. And I think they're probably not going to have anything like the Dark Zone. They're just going to create a separate PvE mode or PvP mode that just goes its own way and does its own thing, separate from everything. If they continue to overlap these two modes, you're never going to have the 100, well, not 100%, but you're never going to have the high level of satisfaction that a game like this can provide its player base. You're always going to have these conundrums, highs and lows, or a little bit of a high and then immediately a huge dip, a huge low, which is what we're seeing right now. So This is pretty much my opinion. I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Talk to me. We'll talk pretty soon in another video. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.